Pop a rose, pop a rose.
Wings out.
She's dying.
Oh, no way, bro. No way. So, you want to know the best and worst legends in the game. Whether you're looking for that next legend to unlock or just want to find a new main, this Apex Legends Season 10 character tier list will help you come to that decision, so be sure to stick around. I decided to wait before I posted this season's legend tier list because of the mid-season patch, since it would have affected this list. But now that all of the buffs and nerfs have come through, it's time to dial in on my own opinion of an all-rounded Season 10 legend tier list, and I'm happy to take a look at yours in the comments. No matter where each legend is placed, with enough skill, every legend can be great and fun to play. So without wasting any time, let's start in the D list. The first and only legend in this list is going to be Wattson. Arguably one of the nicest, most kind-hearted legends in the game, but unfortunately that's not going to be enough to raise her in this list. As a defensive legend, she just has a very hard time keeping up with legends like Gibraltar and Caustic, that do a much better job of locking down an area to get a full team reset or to hold off enemies. Yes, her pylon is great at recharging shields and blocking all projectiles but bullets. However, that will not stop a full team charging in after breaking down a few fences. I think Wattson is in dire need for a full rework, and I'm curious on what the devs have up their sleeves, but in the meantime, let me know what changes you guys think would be good for her. Moving on to the C list, and the only legend in this list is going to be Crypto. With Respawn adding in more recon legends than we could ever need, this causes other legends like Crypto to dip in efficiency and practicality. Now, don't get me wrong, Crypto at one point was a great addition to a team, but right now he definitely needs a slight rework to get him back into the conversation. Especially with how Seer and Bloodhound pretty much dominate the recon space in terms of knowing where enemies are, Crypto lacks the ability to be in a fight when it matters, and I tend to find the most useful tools in his kit to be grabbing banners and knowing how many squads are in the area. But when it comes down to a squad fight, Seer and Bloodhound do a much better job with keeping track of enemies while still being active in a fight the entire time. Now let's move on to the B list, and since I have so many legends stacked in this one, I'll be giving out B minuses and B pluses. So starting out in the B- is going to be Rampart. With a recent buff, I can finally say Rampart is no longer stuck at the bottom of the barrel and made a slight climb in the ranks. Being able to have a portable shield definitely creates more practicality and opens her up with new ways of being effective, but I still find the ramp up delay very much resisting. Sheila is definitely more accurate now, but it still takes a good bit of time to get it to that point. Also, the portable Sheila still makes you a very open target with the extremely low strafe and handling speed. I do think Rampart could use a few more minor adjustments to get her in that A list, but we also have to ask ourselves, do we want that to even happen? Would a very strong Rampart be healthy for the game? I say no in terms of a competitive stance. We also have to remember she is in fact a defensive legend, so she still shines greatly when it comes to securing down an area, and having her being too strong in the aggressiveness aspect would make her a bit overpowered. Next, let's move on to another B-, which is going to be Fused. He has also recently received a buff in which the knuckle clutches last longer, which has definitely brought Fuse up in the ranks since this is a great method to stall some time and delay an aggressive push. Although I still find his ult to be highly situational, which is the main issue. With a rework of his ultimate, this could potentially bring Fuse up in the A list. But as of now, he is definitely much more fun to play, and if you haven't tried him out yet with his recent adjustments, I would recommend doing so. Do I think you should pick him over another legend for a rank squad? Absolutely not, but now he does bring a little more to the table, creating more viable ways to use him. Fuse is a great legend to use when it comes to the initial engagement of a squad fight, by being able to stack throwables and break down essentially any door that you want. Now let's get into another B- legend, which is going to be Revenant. I think there's a lot of confusion when it comes to Rev needing a buff or a nerf. Revenant as a standalone legend is not as overpowered as people think. However, when you pair Octane and Rev for the Revtane meta, then yes, of course it does create a powerful combo that needs to be addressed and reworked. Recently, his totem now creates a visual effect similar to Lobo when he activates his ultimate. I'm pretty sure the devs did this in hopes to weaken the Revtane meta, but I can confidently say it's not enough. Even knowing that you are getting Revsen is most times unavoidable. This causes some unhealthy pushes when it comes to ranked, since there's a very minimal risk involved. Rev also received a buff in which his climbing height has increased, making him able to scale pretty much all buildings that are accessible for high ground. Revenant's tactical is also great at denying mobility legends from escaping, and his passive is very good for sneaking around. But what Revenant truly needs is not a buff or a nerf, but rather a solid rework in his ultimate. I think this would be very healthy for the game to strive long term and create a proper skill gap when it comes to ranked. Next, let's move on to the B+ legends, and the first one in this list is going to be Mirage. Mirage is a legend that takes a lot of skill to really get the full effect out of him. However, that should not be a reason to avoid playing him. Fighting a good Mirage is always a nail-biter, and he tends to get the first shots during a gunfight exchange. When it comes to his tactical and ultimate, the cooldowns are extremely fast, which is what truly makes him such a solid legend. He also offers team support by being able to revive while being invisible, so that paired with a gold bag can really swing a squad fight in your favor. Also, while Mirage is not necessarily a mobility-based legend in which he can go in and out of a fight quickly, his ultimate does allow for some sneaky getaways in a tough situation. So if you're curious about playing him, go for it. But it will take some time to really nail down his effectiveness when it comes to solo play. Now let's move on to another B+ legend, which is going to be Lifeline. With Lifeline, there is sort of a debate going around where some people prefer the old style revive as compared to what we have now. But in all honesty, I think her being able to revive 2 teammates at once and still be in a fight is much stronger than the old revive style. I think what most players missed the most was the fast heals aspect to Lifeline, which I also prefer to make a comeback. But we also have to take into account that Lifeline's drone is much stronger with giving health back at a quicker rate. So while we want this fast heals back, it may be a bit overpowered with her improved drone. Her care package also offers a guaranteed upgrade to an attachment or body shield, which is nice. Overall, Lifeline is a solid pick to help support your team and play hip to hip, but as a solo legend, she definitely has dipped in effectiveness. Next, let's move on to yet another B+ legend, which is going to be Caustic. While Caustic can be very annoying to fight against, his kit is obviously situational towards locking down buildings. So a wild Caustic out in the open is not too much of a threat without his ult to play around. However, compared to Wattson, he definitely does a much better job of holding enemies back from pushing. Now, if you've watched my previous legend tier list videos, I tend to put Caustic higher in the ranks, but with his recent nerf that makes his gas dissipate faster, it makes fighting a Caustic slightly easier since he'll be more focused on putting down more traps than actually firing back. But make no mistake about it, a good Caustic is always prepared and can be a huge threat if you try to enter his building. I think Caustic is in a pretty solid state right now, and if buffed, can easily bring him back to the A and S tier. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, the last legend in the B+ list is going to be Bangalore. Bang has never really seen drastic changes throughout all of these seasons of Apex Legends. She is sort of an underlooked legend that does a great job of providing cover with her smokes and delaying an aggressive push with her ultimate. As Bangalore stands right now, she's always a solid choice, especially with her double time passive giving her more strafe speed during a fight to win an exchange, or to back off and heal. But there is an issue I want to address, and that is the constant addition of recon legends being added to Apex. With Bloodhound Scan, Seer Ultimate, and so forth, this makes Bangalore's smokes less effective. However, that does not make Bangalore completely useless. Rather, keep in mind when using smokes that a recon legend could make Bangalore and her team slightly more vulnerable for taking damage when trying to cross through smokes. Now it's time to move on to the A tier list, and again, since I have so many legends in this list, they will be split into A- and A+. So starting with the first A- legend, who is going to be Horizon. Horizon has been on a roller coaster when it comes to her rank in tier list videos. When she was first released, she was easily considered the best legend in the game. Then she later received a devastating nerf which dropped her way down. But now she has recently received a buff to bring her back into the A list. As of now, Horizon is a great legend if you're looking for a new main or just want to incorporate her in your rank squad. Now that her gravity lift speed has increased, getting high grounds as a team or just using it for an aggressive push during a gunfight is always clutch. Her ultimate is still great for pinning down enemies and following up with as many throwables as possible. And of course, best of all, she gets no stun effects when falling from height. So your movement momentum will be at an all-time high when playing her, and she's always a slippery legend to try and one mag. Next, let's move on to another A- legend, which is going to be Pathfinder. Even though Pathy has seen better days, he is still able to create great opportunities during a squad fight. His capability to get high ground as a team with his zipline or alone with his grapple makes him somewhat of a challenge to fight against. What can be argued, however, is his cooldown time on his grapples. For a short mid-gunfight grapple, it's not that big of an issue. But when it comes to those long-range distance grapples, I just feel that his cooldown can get way too high. And if you're caught out in the open with no grapple, things can get very ugly very quickly, especially with his refrigerator hitbox. Other than that, Pathy is great at staying alive in tough situations with mobility, and can also scan beacons in rank to find the next zone. So if you're looking to main a new legend that has good mobility, look no further. Alright, now let's move on to the next A- legend, which is going to be Wraith. Even though Wraith has stepped down from the S tier for a few seasons now, she is still very strong and brings a lot to the table when it comes to team play. While her phase is no longer as effective as it once was, her Portal ultimate is the real game changer, to bring your team from point A to point B in a flash. Whether you're porting out a down teammate to safety or helping your whole team safely transfer for better positioning, the plays that Wraith can make are always solid. When it comes to ranked, having a Wraith is still a luxury in many hectic situations, situations and can be the deciding factor on winning or losing during those small end zones. I'm sure almost every player has tried out Wraith at least once in their time playing Apex, since she's still a top pick and makes for a fun playing experience. Next, let's move on to the last legend I have in the A-, which is going to be Seer. When Seer was first released, he took the game over and was easily seen as one of the best legends without a doubt. However, with all of the backlash by the community, Respawn was quick to give him a nerf, which took him from the S tier all the way down to an A- in my opinion. He is still strong when used correctly, but his ultimate is situational and easily destroyed. His heartbeat sensor passive took most of the nerf when the range was reduced and no longer shows the amount of enemies. But as an overall recon legend to help your team figure out where enemies are, Seer does a great job. But the main reason Seer is so successful still is because he can be actively engaged during the entire fight while giving your team wall hacks at the same time with ease. His tactical still cancels revives and heals, which is great to keep a weakened team low on health, or what I like to call being in shambles. Now it's time to move into the A+ legends, and the first one is going to be Loba. When Loba first came out back in Season 5, everyone thought she would be overpowered, but that was not the case. However, as the seasons kept progressing, she slowly started getting buffs along the way. And it's safe to say that she is now in a really good spot in terms of practicality for your team and solo play. With no movement slowness during the activation and deactivation of her bracelet, her escapability is at an all-time high. This makes staying alive for the team much easier and is massive when it comes to ranked. Her black mark is also great for getting the things you and your team need when you just can't seem to find it. Loba is also great for closing the gap with her bracelet and pressuring certain angles that would make an enemy team more likely to fall apart. Moving on to the next A+ legend, who is going to be Bloodhound. With Seer making his way on the scene, most players probably have a hard time deciding on who would be a better fit for the team. But even with Bloodhound's scan nerf, where enemies don't stay pinged for as long, I still think Bloodhound is the better choice overall. His ultimate is much better in my opinion, since not only almost constantly shows where enemies are, but the 30% movement speed increase also makes for a difficult kill. This gives Bloodhound more mobility over Seer and can be a big help on staying alive. Also, although Bloodhound doesn't have a heartbeat sensor, they could still pick up tracks and ping recent actions for the team without needing to activate his passive. So although both Seer and Bloodhound play very similar roles, Bloodhound takes the cake on this one, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. And finally, we move on to the last A+ legend, who is going to be Valkyrie. She has arguably the best movement in the game, especially if a good player knows how to take advantage of it. But that does not make her invincible. In fact, she can be a very easy target at times. Valkyrie is great at getting high grounds and really pressuring a team with her dominant angles, in which she could achieve so effortlessly. Her team play also has a major impact on her effectiveness, especially in those hectic ring situations where you find yourself rotating late, or perhaps have a team gatekeep you out. Her ultimate does a phenomenal job at countering these issues when playing and can be a great tool for repositioning during those smaller rings. I've been maining Valk for the last month, and not only is she fun to play, but also brings a lot to the table. And now for the moment you all have been waiting for: who are the best legends in the game and that deserve the S tier spot? First on the list is going to be Octane. Even with his recent nerf of the jump pad horizontal distance and his health regen, Octane plays a huge role for moving his team so effortlessly, which not only helps with obtaining better positioning, but can also help get a full team reset. The jump pad is extremely effective whether you decide for an aggressive push or for a defensive escape. This makes Octane a great team player, on top of which he still has the stim for extra mobility during a gunfight exchange. Octane has been a high pick for many seasons now, and that still remains. For ranked, having an Octane would be a solid choice for getting out of sticky situations, and is just a staple legend at this point. And now the last legend up in the S tier, who has been there arguably for the longest time and still remains, is Gibraltar. Even though Gibby has been receiving some slight nerfs amongst the seasons, he still remains as another staple legend when it comes to ranked. His ability to provide cover for his team, take tons of damage, and have a strong airstrike truly makes him an all-round tank. Gibby is the best legend on the team to help provide for a full team reset, or in other words, to help your team cap up on health after being very low. I've also said for a few seasons now that Octane and Gibby together makes for a very strong team, and their teammate could vary based on needs and playstyle. If you're looking for a lot of defense, Gibby is hands down the way to go. And there we have it, my own Season 10 legend tier list, and I would love to hear yours down in the comments. And just remember, no matter where each legend is placed on this list, a good player can make them look insane. So don't let that be the deciding factor on you playing them or not based on this list. Thank you guys for spending a couple minutes every day with me. If you enjoyed the video, like rating is always appreciated. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. And as always, this was Sultan, and I'm signing off. Peace.